Did you know that Japan has bears? And did you also know that 230 people every year get attacked by bears in Japan? That's a problem. But did you also know that Japan is sending their military to attack these bears? Yes. Let me explain everything in this video today. To understand what's going on this island nation, we need to understand the enemy, the bears. There's two types of bears in Japan: the Japanese brown bear and the Japanese black bear. So first off, we're going to start off with the big brown daddy, the Ussuri brown bear. This bear comes in at around 600 pounds, making it the largest animal in Japan. Behaviorally, we can think of it as almost like an American brown bear or grizzly bear, just smaller. This guy only resides in Hokkaido, the northernmost prefecture of Japan, which is also the coldest prefecture of Japan. And it also has the lowest population density. It's a majority rural areas, which is where a lot of the incidents happen. And incidents with this guy are often more lethal. It has a higher percentage of deaths to incidents versus the next guy, which is the Japanese black bear. This guy has a lot more incidents associated with, but it's also on the much more populated islands of Japan, Honshu and Shikoku. This guy comes in at around 300 pounds on average and is very similar to the American black bear, except for two differences. It's smaller and it has a very prominent white crescent on its chest. And I do want to point out that on Shikoku, the island that it also resides, there's only maybe 30 left on the island, making it critically endangered. So now, okay, we got identified, we got familiar with the enemy. Now let's talk about what is Japan doing about all these incidents. I mean, it is a crazy amount of incidents. On one website alone, I found, so on this Kumo map I found, and I'm going to link down below, you guys can check it out yourself. It shows you how many incidents have happened in the last 15 days. And as I'm viewing this now, I see that 550 incidents have happened in the last 15 days. This is a giant management problem for Japan. So how is Japan handling this problem? Well, it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of politics, there's a lot of management, there's a lot of historical and cultural things influencing how Japan is handling this problem. But it can be boiled down into three topics, or three main categories: bear population growing, global warming, human depopulation. So to start off with growing bear population, the first issue, this one's going to be pretty quick. You guys, I'm sure, are very smart. If you have more bears, you have more chances of incidences, so therefore more incidences. We don't really need to spend a ton of time on this, but I want to talk about something that's kind of unique. Why is the bear population growing? It's not like Japan has tons of forests. It is 60% forest, which is pretty impressive for such a high population nation. Bears can't breed as fast as rabbits, so we can't just think of it as like, oh, like they're just growing incredibly fast and no one's doing anything about it. They're very slow. So for the Japanese black bear specifically, they have a gestation period of around 6 to 8 months. So it's not a quick turnaround on these guys like producing and building a population. And they only have 1 to 4 cubs per litter, which is not like, it's not like we can think of it like this happened quickly. This is something that's been happening for a long period of time. So what happened to cause the bear population to grow so rapidly? Well, we can say that the success rate of them reaching adulthood to find mate or mates is the reason. Because for the Japanese black bear, the only predator or anything that can go after it is humans. And with the declining population and with the cultural shift away from hunting and management of these species, and politically becoming more difficult to manage their population, they didn't have anyone to hunt them down. Or, that's kind of graphic, they didn't have anyone to reduce their numbers. So their population grew on Honshu Island. It also means that overall there's less things influencing their decline. And with the cultural shift in the view of bears, historically always being seen as a nuisance, a threat, or something that could hurt them, hurt humans, or the Japanese population. It has kind of shifted due to cartoons and characters and mascots that have grown in popularity. They're now seen as more of like giant cuddly bears. So with this cute cuddly outlook, anything that calls their population or brings better management to the bear population has kind of died off. It kind of gets cut in the bill making process. This isn't the overall outlook of bears in Japan though. In the rural communities, the ones who have to deal with the bear problem, they're desperate for a solution. And hunting and call of the populations is very popular in those areas of Japan, but not so much in the high density cities where a majority of votes get placed. So that was topic one. Now let's go into the controversial one. How does global warming cause bears to attack people? Seems unrelated, it seems kind of far-fetched, but let me explain. Bears are omnivores. They eat meat, they eat salads, they'll eat really anything that can give them calories. And being omnivores, they normally go for what's easiest to and most efficient for the calorie intake. If there's something that they can just sit around and eat, like blueberries or any kind of berries, they're going to eat the berries. If that is not around and they have to go hunting, they'll go hunting. It is whatever they can gain calories without much effort. But just to remind you that hunting is a very expensive use of calories to get calories. Foraging is much more efficient when there's abundance. So how does global warming play into that? With global warming and higher on average temperatures happening in Japan, a lot of the plants that bears would normally forage have become stressed. This has caused really bad masting years. What is masting? Masting is when a synchronized happening of like oaks or beeches or trees and plants at the same time of year and in a similar season produce nuts, acorns, nuts of any kind. And with the bear population growing, there is also that stress on the quantity of berries and food left for all the bears to have. So with higher population of bears, with more stress, making a reduced quantity of food available, what do they have to do? They're more willing to take the high risk, high reward of going into towns, causing more incidents, but maybe finding high calorie food. And with this happening more frequently, they're not as stressed and it's not as a high risk to do it. Bears get habitualized to, I see a trash can, I can find food. Now this causes a lot of incidents, and it's the cause of most incidents. Bears coming into towns where they're not supposed to be and then attacking humans. Now for the last topic, everyone knows this, but Japan's population is in decline. It's been struggling, birth rates have been going really low. They even introduced a visa for having kids in Japan. It's weird. I don't know anything about it. I just saw the headline. But it's even declining faster in rural communities. Now, these rural communities have historically been a defense against bears because of the activity of farming. Loud machines, forests, like pushing the forest back through mitigation and management, chatter, just normal rural community things. It's caused like a fear to happen in the bears. Now with these communities dying off and just reducing in number, a lot of those farms are going fallow. With the average farmer in Japan being 70 years old, there's no one filling these farms in. There's no one like picking up the rakes and starting the farm and helping out. And I mean, we could debate the noise factor all day, but it is a deterrent against bears. So these fallow farms, how is it bringing bear, like how is it affecting the bears? Well, it's actually attracting them, because these farms that have gone abandoned are perfect habitat for flowers, for forageables, for food, for bears. It's actually like bringing them in. It's making them habitualized to these human rural abandoned habitats. So these bears are being attracted to this edge habitat on the fallow farms, and it's just kind of bringing them closer to the town. And that, since they're becoming closer to the town and becoming habitualized to the noise and this natural human disturbance that happens every day, they're not as scared anymore. Which, this is the worst thing to happen. If anyone has, if you're a viewer from America, it is like on every sign and everything to be bear safe, which is good practices with your trash. Don't feed the bears. Don't leave food for the bears. Do not encourage bad behavior of wildlife, whether it's bears, deers, or anything. But this situation, unintentionally, without anyone pushing for it, is happening. So with that last problem that's kind of dark, sorry guys, we kind of summed up the 3 issues. So what is Japan doing about it? The Japanese government has thrown the kitchen sink at the problem. They have increased a lot of tags for bears, so hunters can take more bears than what they normally would. But as we discussed before, hunting is not culturally as popular, so that didn't do anything. They tried catch and release programs, so they would catch the bear, move it to a place that's more safe, but that's kind of like diverting water from a broken dam. The water's going to go where it wants to go. Once it's found food there, it just goes, the bear just returns. They have tried population culls, which is where you eliminate a large number of the bears, but as the bill is going through their version of Congress, the number gets cut and cut and cut to the point where it's not putting a dent in the problem. So while they do have culls that happen, it's not enough to solve the problem. So they've come up with the kind of final solution to the problem, this major problem. They're sending the military. They're bringing in retired soldiers and current soldiers to catch and release, catch and kill, and go hunting for these bears to reduce their numbers to the point where it should make it safer. And also in hopes of scaring the bears to where they are not coming into these rural communities anymore. Sadly, this is the solution that they came up with, and it seems to be working. Kind of. Yeah, we'll see. With me filming this video and seeing that the incidents have rose 550 times, it's kind of crazy. And I know hearing all of this is upsetting. I like bears. I like these big animals that live in our world. And to me, it's just shocking that with such a high population that Japan has, they have things that big still around. Like if you think of Europe, or if you think of other high population density countries, large animals and large wildlife are few and far in between. So for Japan to have a conservation mindset to the point where they have bears is exciting. It's really cool. And I would love to imagine that there's a way that we can live in harmony with bears. But we have to be reminded that the human population of Japan has always hunted, it's always managed in some form or fashion the bear population. And while we like the idea of untouched nature, Japan has always had practices where they managed it. And as the population in Japan grew, I think they didn't do, except for the Japanese wolf and some other animals that went extinct along the way, all things considered, they did a pretty good job. And I believe that Japan will figure out a solution to bring balance back to their wildlife. Finding this solution is just going to take time. And I would like to thank you for your time and watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Follow for more. Thank you. Have a nice day.